The pain of losing a child is a sorrow few can truly understand, and for Sister Wives star Kody Brown, that agony has carved a permanent place in his heart. In one of the most raw, emotional, and heart-wrenching revelations since the tragic death of his son Robert Garrison Brown, Kody has finally opened up about a deeply personal choice, one that has shaken fans to their core. In a world where reality television often blurs the line between staged drama and truth, this confession wasn't about ratings or attention. It was a father's ultimate act of love and grief. Kody chose to dig his son's grave himself. Garrison, who died by suicide earlier this year, was just 25 years old when his life ended, and the aftermath has been emotionally devastating for the Brown family. The tragedy rippled through every member of the polygamous clan, but Kody, often criticized for being distant or emotionally unavailable, has now allowed the public a glimpse into his mourning process, a process full of pain, remorse, and a desperate need for redemption. Kody Brown has never been a man who hides his opinions. Over the years, audiences have seen him portray himself as a husband struggling to balance 4 marriages, a father navigating complex relationships with 18 children, and a religious leader wrestling with his faith. But since the news of Garrison's passing broke, the man once known for his stubbornness has faded into someone far more somber and broken. While many expected him to shy away from the topic or deflect responsibility, Kody's latest interview has proven the opposite. He's not only confronting the grief, he's embracing it in the most literal and visceral way possible. Sitting with a grief counselor and camera crew in a quiet, private setting far from the hustle of the family's usual drama, Kody's eyes were sunken, his hands trembling. The words he spoke felt like they had been clawed from his throat. "It means something to me," he said when asked why he chose to dig the grave. "I couldn't let anyone else do it. That's my son. That's my boy. I brought him into this world. I couldn't save him, but I could lay him to rest." For Kody, digging the grave was more than a task. It was a symbolic gesture, a spiritual reckoning. It was his way of reconnecting with a son he'd become estranged from, of expressing a love that had become buried under years of tension, miscommunication, and silence. In the weeks following Garrison's death, rumors swirled about the deteriorating relationship between the father and son. Fans speculated that Kody's alleged favoritism toward Robin and her children, along with his increasingly strained ties to his older kids, may have created an emotional chasm too wide for Garrison to cross. While Kody hasn't directly addressed those criticisms, this act spoke volumes. The image of a grieving father, shovel in hand, breaking the earth with trembling force is one that has haunted viewers since Kody's emotional confession aired. He described the physical act in excruciating detail. The cold ground, the blisters on his palms, the relentless ache in his back. And through it all, the thoughts he couldn't escape, the birthdays missed, the calls he didn't return, the arguments he wished he'd handled differently. He said that every shovel of dirt was filled with regret, and every drop of sweat felt like a prayer. "People told me I didn't have to do it, that there were professionals who could handle it. But I needed to. I needed to feel it. To hurt with every motion. Because this was my pain to carry," Kody said, his voice cracking. Viewers who have followed Sister Wives for years are no strangers to the family's many rifts and reconciliations. But this moment, stripped of cameras, conflict, and showbiz varnish, felt different. It felt real. Fans have long accused Kody of emotionally abandoning his children who were not under Robin's roof. Garrison, along with his brother Gabriel, had previously clashed with Kody over COVID protocols and Kody's absence from their lives. Their estrangement was well documented, and some have speculated that Garrison's internal struggles may have been exacerbated by the ongoing feud with his father. In hindsight, Kody's decision to take the shovel into his own hands may have been his way of reclaiming the fatherhood he feels he failed. It was a brutal act of penance and a solemn tribute all at once. When asked if the act helped him feel closer to Garrison, Kody hesitated, then whispered, "It's the closest I've felt to him in years." He went on to reveal that during the digging process, he spoke to Garrison. Not out loud, but in his mind. Apologizing. Remembering. Wishing for another chance. "I kept thinking of when he was little. When he used to build forts in the backyard. I thought maybe if I built this grave with my own hands, he'd understand, maybe he'd forgive me." The other family members have all been navigating the loss in their own way. Yanel, Garrison's mother, has largely stayed out of the spotlight but did release a brief statement expressing her heartbreak. She and Kody have been emotionally and physically distant for years, and this tragedy seems to have widened that gap even further. Kody admitted he hasn't spoken with her much since the funeral, acknowledging that their shared grief is both a connection and a chasm. Christine, who left Kody in 2021, has openly supported Yanel and posted multiple tributes to Garrison. Even Mary, often the quiet outsider in the Brown dynamic, shared her condolences and joined the family at the memorial service. But the unity was fleeting. The cracks in the family are still deep, and this tragedy has laid them bare. Kody confessed that he often feels like a ghost within his own family. I walk into a room and I see their eyes. I know what they're thinking. That I wasn't there when he needed me. And maybe they're right. Despite this, Kody hasn't shied away from taking some responsibility. In a moment that stunned even the interviewer, Kody said, "If love could have saved him, he'd still be here. But I didn't show it the way I should have. I thought I had more time. And then time ran out." His words, spoken with quivering lips and red-rimmed eyes, silenced many of his critics, at least for a moment. Because this wasn't the brash, defensive Kody many have grown used to. This was a man destroyed by loss and desperately trying to make sense of a tragedy that defies logic. He admitted he now understands how depression can feel like an invisible monster, stalking its victims without mercy. Garrison was strong, but the pain was stronger. I didn't see it. Or maybe I didn't want to. Kody's decision to make this experience public is something he struggled with, he admitted. Part of him wanted to grieve in silence, to protect what little dignity remained. But another part, perhaps the bigger one, wanted to use this moment as a cautionary tale. If even one parent out there hears me and decides to reach out to their kid, then maybe there's some meaning in all this pain, he said. He urged viewers to check in on their children, not just with surface-level questions but with sincere, intentional conversations. Don't assume they're okay because they smiled at dinner. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go to them. Sit down. Ask the hard questions. Kody has since said he visits Garrison's grave regularly, often alone. He brings small items, a photo, a toy car, a handwritten letter, and places them near the headstone. Each visit, he says, is both healing and torturous. I walk into a room and I see their eyes. I know what they're thinking. That I wasn't there when he needed me. And maybe they're right. Despite this, Kody hasn't shied away from taking some responsibility. In a moment that stunned even the interviewer, Kody said, "If love could have saved him, he'd still be here. But I didn't show it the way I should have. I thought I had more time. And then time ran out." His words, spoken with quivering lips and red-rimmed eyes, silenced many of his critics, at least for a moment. Because this wasn't the brash, defensive Kody many have grown used to. This was a man destroyed by loss and desperately trying to make sense of a tragedy that defies logic. He admitted he now understands how depression can feel like an invisible monster, stalking its victims without mercy. Garrison was strong, but the pain was stronger. I didn't see it. Or maybe I didn't want to. Kody's decision to make this experience public is something he struggled with, he admitted. Part of him wanted to grieve in silence, to protect what little dignity remained. But another part, perhaps the bigger one, wanted to use this moment as a cautionary tale. If even one parent out there hears me and decides to reach out to their kid, then maybe there's some meaning in all this pain, he said. He urged viewers to check in on their children, not just with surface-level questions but with sincere, intentional conversations. Don't assume they're okay because they smiled at dinner. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go to them. Sit down. Ask the hard questions. Kody has since said he visits Garrison's grave regularly, often alone. He brings small items, a photo, a toy car, a handwritten letter, and places them near the headstone. Each visit, he says, is both healing and torturous. I go there to feel close to him. And every time I leave, I feel the hole in my heart get bigger. One of the most poignant moments from his confession came when he described a dream he had just weeks after the funeral. In it, Garrison was smiling, standing in the middle of a sunlit field. No words were exchanged, but Kody said he woke up with tears on his face. "I don't know if it was just my mind or something more, but I choose to believe it was him. Telling me he's okay. Telling me he knows I tried. Even if I was late." The response from the public has been a complex blend of empathy, skepticism, and sorrow. Some have praised Kody for his vulnerability and bravery. Others have questioned the timing, the motive, and whether it's too little too late. But most agree on one thing: this tragedy has changed Kody Brown. Whether it will change the fractured dynamics of the family remains to be seen. As Sister Wives enters its next season, the presence of Garrison will be undeniably missed. Whether or not cameras will cover the aftermath of his passing is still unknown, but one thing is certain: this family, once known for its complex structure and reality TV stardom, is now marked by a pain that no storyline can overshadow. Kody ended his interview with a final plea, not for sympathy but for awareness. "Don't take time for granted," he said. "Don't assume your kids know you love them. Tell them. Show them. Every day. Because I would give anything to say it to Garrison just one more time." And with that, the image of Kody Brown, the reality star, the father, the broken man digging his son's grave, became not just a moment of television, but a moment of truth. A reminder that beneath the headlines, the drama, the confessions and controversies, there are real lives, real pain, and real loss. In a devastating chapter of the Brown family's story, one moment has stood out as a haunting symbol of grief, love, and a father's desperate effort to make peace with his past. Kody Brown, the patriarch of the once tightly bound polygamous clan featured on the long-running reality series Sister Wives, has revealed that he personally requested permission from the cemetery to dig his late son Garrison's grave himself. The revelation has shaken fans, inspired heartfelt reactions, and exposed the raw humanity of a man often criticized for his shortcomings as a father and husband. The death of Garrison Brown, Kody's 25-year-old son with Yanel Brown, shocked the reality TV world to its core. Garrison, who had previously shared glimpses of his bright spirit, personal independence, and even his emotional struggles on the TLC series, tragically died by suicide earlier this year. The loss left a gaping void not only within the Brown family but in the hearts of viewers who had watched him grow up on screen. And while much of the family has grieved in private or offered carefully worded statements of remembrance, it is Kody's latest emotional disclosure that has brought a new level of poignancy to the tragedy. Kody's relationship with Garrison, as well as with many of his children from his other wives, had been frayed in recent years. On-screen tension revealed rifts, particularly during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when differing views on household rules and visitation laid bare the separation between Kody and his older children. Garrison and his brother Gabriel, both sons of Yanel, were particularly vocal about feeling excluded and undervalued. The arguments, accusations, and distancing that unfolded on the show had real consequences and real emotional scars. For Garrison, those wounds were hidden behind a quiet smile, masked even from those who loved him the most. So when Kody Brown approached the cemetery where Garrison would be laid to rest, it wasn't as a celebrity, a reality show figurehead, or even a grieving public personality. He came as a father broken by sorrow, carrying with him a burden of guilt and yearning. He asked not only for a burial plot but for something far more intimate and sacred. He asked for permission to dig the grave himself. The request, one rarely made in modern funerary customs, was not met with immediate agreement. Cemeteries today are bound by regulations, liabilities, and operational protocols. In most places, the act of grave digging is handled by trained professionals using heavy equipment. The idea of a family member, especially a father, digging the grave of their own child is almost unheard of. But Kody was insistent. It wasn't about the spectacle. It wasn't about making a statement. It was about needing to feel the physical toll of his grief, to participate in the final moments of his son's journey on this earth in the only way that made sense to him. He later recounted, through a trembling voice in a sit-down interview, that he explained this need to the cemetery staff with a sincerity that pierced through red tape. "I told them I know it's not done often, but please, this is my son. I need to do this. "I don't expect anyone to understand, but I have to do this for him for myself," Kody said. The staff, moved by his resolve and understanding the profound pain behind the request, ultimately allowed it, though with certain safety and logistical considerations in place. With the cemetery's reluctant blessing, Kody prepared himself for what would be the most emotionally and physically agonizing act of his life. Alone, with only a few close family members watching from a distance, he took the shovel in hand and began the solemn task of creating the resting place for his son. Each thrust into the earth was heavy with sorrow, regret, and love. It wasn't the methodical efficiency of a backhoe or the impersonal nature of a crew, it was a father's heartbreak made manifest. As the sun rose and set over the cemetery, Kody worked tirelessly. He later said the pain in his muscles was nothing compared to the ache in his soul. He remembered birthdays, smiles, family vacations. He remembered the arguments, the silence, the way he let time slip through his fingers. And with each shovelful of soil, he poured that anguish into the earth. There were no cameras filming, no scripts, no orchestrated drama, just Kody and the weight of all he had lost. He described speaking to Garrison throughout the process, not in grand declarations but in broken, whispered thoughts. Apologies, memories, hopes that perhaps somewhere somehow his son could hear him. That maybe this one act, this last offering, could carry with it the love he struggled to show in life. "I just kept saying, 'I'm here, son. I'm here now. I'm so sorry I wasn't there enough before.' I didn't stop digging until it felt like my soul was in that grave with him," Kody recounted. The act of grave digging has long been a spiritual tradition in various cultures. In many communities, it is considered a final gesture of love and service from the living to the deceased. Kody, whether knowingly or instinctively, embraced this ancient rite, stepping outside of Western convention in favor of something more primal and personal. His act, while deeply painful, became a form of communion, a way of connecting to his son in death that he struggled to achieve in life. For fans of Sister Wives, this revelation added a new layer to the public's perception of Kody Brown. Over the years, viewers have seen him fluctuate between charming, infuriating, complex, and controversial. His handling of relationships, especially his favoritism toward Robin and his declining connection with Yanel, Christine, and Mary, has led to widespread criticism. But in this moment, stripped of pretense, Kody emerged not as a polygamist reality star, but as a grieving father desperate to express love through labor. Yanel Brown, who had been open about the devastation of losing her son, did not publicly comment on Kody's request to dig the grave. Sources close to the family have shared that she was aware and respected his decision, though the grief between them remains a heavy silence. The former couple, whose relationship had already deteriorated long before Garrison's death, now share an unspeakable loss that neither is fully ready to confront together. Other members of the Brown family were reportedly moved by Kody's actions, though the emotional distance within the family unit remains pronounced. Gabriel, Garrison's younger brother, has remained largely out of the public eye since the tragedy, grieving privately. Christine and Mary, both of whom have expressed sorrow over Garrison's death, continue to support Yanel from afar, offering their condolences and memories of a young man who once lit up family gatherings with his humor and presence. In the wake of this loss, the question on many minds is whether the tragedy has brought Kody any closer to reconciling with his estranged children. So far, the answer remains uncertain. Kody has acknowledged that the grief has humbled him, made him reflect deeply on the years he lost while chasing harmony in a fractured family. "I see now what I was blind to for so long," he admitted. "I thought there would always be time. That someday I'd patch things up. That he'd come around, or I would. But life doesn't wait for you to get your act together." The grave, now a quiet space shaded by trees, stands as a monument not only to Garrison's life but to Kody's mourning. He visits regularly, according to sources close to the family. He brings flowers, letters, and even tools to maintain the area, refusing to let it become overgrown or forgotten. It has become his sanctuary, a place where he can finally speak freely to a son whose silence now echoes in every corner of his life. Kody has said that digging the grave did not bring closure. That word, he insists, feels hollow and inadequate. But it brought him something else, a moment of reckoning. a confrontation with the father he was and the father he wishes he had been. And while it didn't erase the past, it created a memory that would allow him to carry Garrison with him, not just in guilt but in grace.